Ahlam and welcome to ILV Majlis, where Milan meets the Khalij and the art of travel begins. Today, we are having a great expert on social media. Here's my friend Yazan. Hello, Yazan, and welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Let's start on who you are, what you're doing here, and where you're from.
I'm originally from Palestine, and I've been in Doha since 2018. And I came here as a digital marketing executive. I was working for an automotive company, even though that was never my passion or my goal in my career, because since 2012, I've been into visual storytelling. So I classify myself as a filmmaker, not necessarily a cinematographer. Some people tend to mix those two terms together, but I think of myself as a person who likes to tell stories through visuals. This is who I think I am.
Stories through a lens.
And stories through a lens, exactly. I like to tell people sometimes that what you see is what I see from my perspective. The only difference is I use technology to relay the message.
I have a bit of a complex feeling with lenses because sometimes we have the victim of these lenses. And it's in every aspect of our life, from private to public to political to social. But what I would like to ask you is, do you think the places cut? No, I don't like that. Can I?
Yeah, you can reword it, yes.
Okay, we run it and start again. Back. Through the lenses, sometimes we can have misjudgments, and that happens in our private life, in our social life, in a political construct, and also in the social media. Social media can be a very good thing, but it can also deceive reality completely. Do you think places felt more authentic before, when people were constantly trying to capture them?
So what you said just now about social media being sometimes deceptive, it is somewhat of a negative aspect because people's expectations are set to a certain standard because of what they see online and what they consume visually. And I'm sure if I were to ask you the same questions on how you convince your clients to go to certain destinations, you obviously show them photo references and video references. So it's like a double-edged sword. So you have to have something visual in order to sell the idea of going somewhere. But going back to your question, if they felt more authentic, maybe to the traveler themselves, it felt more authentic because they got to go and experience this place without any distractions, without any social media, without the thought in the back of their mind that they need to document everything about the strip. So they got to experience things in more real time, really feel the moment, really feel the place, and understand everything around them, from weather to the ground beneath their feet. They can even see the history and the culture around them. So
in the 20th century, there was no social media, and people were moving by what they heard of. And the small places, especially across the Mediterranean after World War II, became iconic because a film star would have gone there. That could have been the south of France, or Capri, or Portofino in Italy, or any island in Greece. But then it was people emulating royalty, jet set stars. Now anyone can create a myth of a location. You just need a mobile phone, a good angle, and then you have to be good in social media.
yeah.
So perhaps before it was more authentic. Don't you think that now we can turn even a mediocre location with a good angle, a very good filter, which by the way I don't know how to use, into something that is really hot and dreamt for other people?
I mean, it is possible, of course, but then this is where I think people with your experience come in to open these people's eyes to what's actually beautiful and what's being portrayed as beautiful to them. This is where people who've actually been to these places, because just like you said now, word of mouth is a very powerful tool. Even back then, before social media existed, this is how people would hear about these places. And even now, I think it's still a very powerful tool. And I'm sure you have examples of people that came to you and said, I want to go to so-and-so because I heard one of my friends or one of my relatives loved this destination, and they want to plan out the exact same trip without even thinking of whether they'll enjoy it or not. They just want to go and see what they saw online or what pictures were shared with them.
Often I have a problem. I have a traveler that comes to me and saying, oh, my friend went to see the migration in Tanzania, and I would like to see the migration in Tanzania. I said, perfect. First of all, the migration is a circular event that occurs throughout the year, except when there is the calving season, which happens from December to March. So I asked them, but when would you like to travel? And often it's the wrong time of the year. Also, like, somebody often comes to me and say, I would like to see the Northern Light, the Aurora Borealis. Perfect, we can schedule it. I can go in August. Sorry, wrong moment. So people sometimes, they see the information, but they can't really contextualize the information. And this is something that social media, in my opinion, is failing to address to people. We see beautiful images throughout the time, but maybe those images do not match what we really want or that we can really do at any given time.
Correct.
My next question is beauty. Social media is about aesthetic, about showcasing beautiful places. There is this false assumption that beauty equals luxury. Therefore, people and social media are only geared towards luxurious places. Don't you think this is a limitation towards authenticity, for start?
I think what you just said now is a very important point of misunderstanding the difference between luxury and beauty, because luxury in itself can have different meanings to different people. I don't want to mention the guest earlier today, but I will have to use her example.
Yes.
Some people may consider luxury as free time. To people who are busy constantly throughout the day, an hour or two of complete personal free time is a luxury to them. Some people consider being able to go and do sports activities a luxury. Some people consider traveling a luxury. Some people consider just living a normal day-to-day life compared to others who are less fortunate to be a luxury. So I think what people tend to relate luxury to, especially when they're looking at travel destinations, is the amount of lavish, throwing money type of lifestyle. This is, I think, what they misunderstand. And again, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. If you want to go somewhere because you like how it visually looks, but you don't consider whether it suits you personally and it suits your likings and your daily activities, then you are just basically throwing money in the ground, because you're going to maybe see what you saw online in a less modified form, because it's reality and it's not beautified like it is on social media. So you may not get to experience it as you expected it. So the true beauty, in my opinion, is actually living the moment and understanding what you like before you reach a destination or before you even look at where you want to go. Think of what you like to do in your day-to-day life, what your mind needs right now. Do you need to go to somewhere with greenery and see nature because sometimes that's what your body needs? Or do you want to go somewhere urban? Or do you want to go somewhere where people live a luxurious lifestyle, to go shopping or to see international brands somewhere? It depends on what you want. But for me, I think real beauty is in nature. And most people don't think of that as a luxury. People who go to Tanzania or go to Africa don't consider it a luxurious trip, for example. But for me, I would think that's a very luxurious trip.
And you talked about beautification
Correct.
of a destination, but don't you think that we should focus more on the experience rather than the location itself? You can have a beautification, an experience that doesn't have to relate to money and how cost effective that is. I like to remember that in the 1960s, in the 1950s, Picasso at one point was somehow short of cash. So he would go and eat in restaurants and pay with his paintings. And people understood that the beauty of his paintings, which were not the Picasso that we know now, today, for them was enough. Now instead, people want to give an economic value to everything. And don't you think this is one of the vices that social media brought into our society?
Absolutely, there is that side to it, of course, because just like we said now, people are connecting beauty to how much money you're spending. But that's not always the case. It depends on who that person is. You and I will have very different choices on what we consider luxurious because we have different upbringings, we come from different backgrounds, different cultures. But at the end of the day, what I feel for me is something beautiful may not relate to you. But we might have something in common. We might find some common ground. So social media can be used as a tool for you to discover what you like. But you also have to be realistic in your expectations. Just because you see something on social media doesn't mean that it's going to be exactly the same way that you see it in real life. Even us sitting now, we're sitting behind cameras and lenses, and the way that we are talking to each other now is not necessarily going to be the same if we were off camera.
Perhaps.
There are some limitations. We have to consider cultural limitations, our language, the types of words that we use. We have to keep in mind that we are going to be watched by an audience. So if you put yourself in this position and you think of the inverse, then it would make more sense when you see something online and you start to gauge whether this is something you should believe or not. Or it would help you at least set your expectations.
Hasn't social media then brought luxury more affordable to everyday people and turned luxury into a commodity good rather than an exclusive goods for the elite? That's a good thing, I think, that social media has helped the world to discover everything that before it was only accessible to very few people.
It's most likely good for your business as well.
For sure.
Yes, because people are starting to understand that luxury isn't, like you said, constricted to the elite. It can now be accessed by other people. But I'll give you an example. When I travel, and when I say I travel, I mean me and my wife. I call her my travel agent because we choose the destination together and then I leave all the planning up to her. The reason for that is she's much better at doing research than I am and using social media to do research. And this is also something that we need to take note of, and I think it will help you understand maybe how the average consumer thinks. We don't use Google anymore to do our searches for traveling, maybe just to look for flights or hotels. But when we're looking for places to go or the best restaurant to have breakfast in or some of the best experiences, most of the search happens on platforms like TikTok, because the people who are giving you the answers on that platform are showing you where they're doing it, how they're doing it in a normal vlogging style. It's not fancy. They're not using professional cameras. They're not sitting behind the desk or doing a podcast. They're showing you in real life, this is where I went, this is where I had breakfast, this is how much I'd rate it. And they would show you the food or the drinks or whatever, exactly how they're served. So that somehow controls the expectation of what you're seeing.
Yes, but that's, you see, sorry, but that it's very limiting because you get to visit, see experiences through TikTok that one person did. Whereas a travel professional, sorry, I have to defend my category, has a 360 degrees approach to a destination, which is not only based on social media, but first of all on how much I traveled, the people I know, the people on site that tell me about any novelty that is happening, about me getting to know all the makers that can turn your journey, your holidays into something unique. Social media has a very valuable aspect, TikTok especially, because you see a TikToker doing something, climbing a mountain, eating some street food in Osaka, and then going to a temple pray 5 o'clock in the morning in Cambodia. But then those are limited experiences. So you have to handpick from different TikTokers all a series of experiences in order to create a complete itinerary. Whereas if you come to a travel professional, the person sometimes might tell you, look, that experience is very similar to another experience. So rather than making a copycat of two very similar moments, I advise you to do something else. I see this as a limitation in social media because social media doesn't give you a full picture of the things, but rather it gives you little editing of what one does, and one wants to copycat that, but sometimes this copycatting, it leaves out other things which are very unique, but that TikTokers haven't discovered it and didn't have access to, and because they're not professionals. Like, for example, if I have to go to an architect, I can go on TikTok and see all these beautiful videos about architectures, which, by the way, I love. But then when you talk to an architect, he'll tell you, no, this is not feasible because where you're building, where is your houses positioned, won't have the same effect as you have seen on the social media. So I'm not against social media, trust me. I'm a user of social media, but I think there should be not a limitation, but there should be a filter. And I think we're lacking this filter. What do you think about filtering social media?
So just to continue on the same example, what you're saying is absolutely correct. And I agree that sometimes going to a travel professional will give you a completely different experience. But now I'm going to ask you a question that maybe help answer what I'm thinking in my head. If I want to pick and choose my experiences, this is obviously something that you can help me with, correct?
Of course.
But if I want to be selective and I'm looking at all the options that I can see or that I can find on TikTok, how would you sell me coming to you for this service? If my answer to you, very straightforward and bluntly, would be, what you're telling me now I could have found on social media, or I could have found a similar experience. Why would I pay top dollar, or I would pay a premium for the service coming from you?
Some of the experiences you might come across on TikTok, they may not be consequential. And there is a logistic behind it that very often a social media user forgets about it. So you see that somebody is doing something in the morning, and then if the afternoon they're doing something else. Maybe they are 600 kilometers apart and they were posted on the same day only because the TikToker didn't have Wi-Fi at the moment. And for you, the two places are consequential, but they're completely far away. Likewise, we live in a time of uncertainties. Look at what happened here in the Khalij region. You were always used to have punctuality on airplanes. Now that has gone upside down, and there are cancellations. People ended up straying somewhere else. A travel professional can help you in real time adjust to all these problems. And then Also, a travel professional can advise you on what is really worth to see versus what is beautiful to see.
But you would have to understand the person's preferences first, correct? Because
Well,
this again goes back to expectation versus the
But
actual
that's why you pay a
experience.
premium, because when you talk to travel professionals like myself, I am investing my time in listening to what your expectations are, and then I guide you through what expectations you have, making it from a dream idea that you have into something that is really feasible to do. Now, you live in a wonderful place, which is Doha, and I live there too, where everything is very accessible, very easy. But when you go to places like Cambodia, or you go to Namibia, or even if you go to Western Australia, accessibility is not a given. You don't have flights taking off every 20 seconds. You don't have Wi-Fi functioning everywhere. Locations are not just 20 minutes drive. Everything else, it's more complicated. And then you end up facing the reality on site. So most of your time then it's spent understanding how you can connect the dots that you have seen on TikTok and making them real usable for your time, which, by the way, is a limited amount of time. You don't have 6 months.
That was going to be my next point, because it feels like what you're saying now is you would help people do more in a shorter period of time because you get rid of all the obstacles that they might face, whether it's sudden changes in the region or if it's the big destination limitations from each place that you want to go to. So that makes more sense.
Like everything else in life, you can't have everything. If you have 10 days holiday that you want to relax, experience, you cannot pack it up with 20 destinations, 30 experiences, and 50 visits. Then it doesn't. Then the whole concept of you getting away and relaxing, it's completely diminished. Relaxation is not by doing nothing and being idle. Relaxing can be hiking on a mountain while you are always sitting on a desk and looking at the screen. So, it's there is a physical component which usually you don't do. My next question is related to performance. Do you feel people sometimes travel differently now because they know they are going to document everything? I mean, what I wanted to say is this desire to document everything affects the performance of the trip that you want to undertake.
I'll answer from personal experience. So I've traveled to several destinations with my wife, and I would tell her before we go anywhere, I'm bringing my camera with me. For me personally, I don't think that documentation is going to affect where I choose to go, because documenting the trip for me is about keeping memories. It's about remembering certain things that happened in the location that I'm filming. So my aim isn't to go somewhere to remember what I felt in this exact moment, in this exact place, because I'll never be able to capture that on camera. But if I film something and then I come back and I put it together and I watch it a year or two later, seeing certain things in that video will trigger memories and emotions for me. So this is why I go and I document it. This is a personal experience and a personal choice. But for others, I think it does. I think the need to document and tell people where I've been and where I traveled, and I went to this island that is remote that nobody has been to before, and here are some pictures, even though they didn't actually enjoy it, but because they felt like they needed to show people that they've been to this place, I think, of course, it affects the choice of where they choose to go.
Then I pose you a personal question.
Yes.
This desire to document everything, don't you miss sometimes that specific moment that you want to capture but you don't live it?
You sound
For
like my
example,
wife.
well, I don't know her, but I think, she's a great woman.
Thank
We
you.
think alike. Take a sunset, for instance. In order to capture that very moment, the sun sunk into the horizon, and you want to have the perfect shot, but then you miss the moment, which is irrepeatable. It's once in a lifetime that specific sunset with that specific light occurs. Isn't it a bit of a missed opportunity?
Of course, but like most things in life, it's a compromise. You have to make your choices. So maybe I missed the sunset in that particular moment, but I shot it on my camera. I can see the sunset the day after. This is how I would think about it. But if my camera's already in my hand and I've chosen to record this shot, it's for a specific reason, and I'm not willing to compromise for not getting the shot. So I know in my head that I'm choosing to do this because I'll either regret it later if I didn't get it, or maybe tomorrow's sunset won't be as beautiful. But I also don't have the best memory in the world. So if I choose to experience something rather than document it on camera, I don't think I'll remember it as vividly later on, as opposed to seeing it on video and then recalling the memory itself. Maybe this is how my brain is wired after filming for so many years. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, for sure, it's a compromise, of course.
Keeping the filming part, don't you think that filming imperfection, something that it's supernatural, is of less interest to the audience than something that it's just right? This beautification that our society carries out everywhere.
I think that goes more towards perfectionism, no? Being a perfectionist, and whether you're a perfectionist yourself or you want to show someone that you're looking at perfection, I think that's what may ruin the expectations for people. But I don't think I'm that kind of person in what I'm shooting. If I'm filming one of our vacations, for example, maybe I'm a perfectionist when it comes to editing or how I want the video to look at the end. But for the experience itself, for the moment itself, I don't seek perfection in it. I've filmed enough in my life to know that it's very rare to capture a specific moment exactly the way that you want it. So sometimes you just have to take it as is, and then you choose later on whether you think this is worthy of remembering or worthy of using. In contrast to people who post on social media from their phones or to show their travel experiences, including travel videographers and traveling filmmakers, I think they don't really think about the viewer that's watching the video and what they set their expectations to as much as they care about putting a video that looks good, that looks attractive to people who might potentially travel later. And even these people try to monetize their platforms. So they'll leave something in the caption that says, DM me to get my full 6-day schedule of what I did on so-and-so's trip. And I'm sure you've encountered people like these as well on social media.
Oh, yes.
So if they try to monetize it, of course they want it to look perfect. But I'm not trying to monetize my vacations or trying to tell people what they should do because my experiences are very different than theirs. So perfectionism has affected a lot. And even if you look at social media, you'll see the most photogenic locations that people post, whether in Bali or in the Maldives. For example, those swings that are in the middle of the jungle. You'll see someone's picture, but there have been so many people on social media that have exposed these locations to not being beautiful to the eye. Because you see the swing in one side, but then on the other side, there's hundreds of people waiting in line to take the exact same picture. So what you're seeing is the end result of perfectionism. But what's behind the line, you don't see on camera.
And you living in the Khalij, or in the Khalij region, Do you think that young Arab travelers today are a bit jaded? Like they're harder to impress because they've seen it all, done it all, been there,
Absolutely.
done and dusted?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just because of social media, it's because of word of mouth as well. I would like to think that people here in Doha are well educated on tourism and different traveling destinations because this is a hub for many flights and it's a connection to many other routes in the world. So by default, you're exposed to so many travel destinations and so many nationalities coming and going. So I believe they are well educated on different places they can travel to, but because of what they hear or what they see, and maybe because of some negative experiences they had, the standards are set so high that it's very difficult to impress them.
When I come to talk with my Khalij travelers, I noticed that on the surface, there is this know-how which is quite widespread. But then when you try to go a bit more into details, there is a lack of knowledge. And this is what brought me here in Doha, because more and more, and also in the region, in Saudi and in Kuwait, is that there is an eagerness in the people to go above what social media offers, to live something which has not been told yet. And I always tell people, your story has not been written by anyone. And social media is the eye of a single person that is broadcasted to the rest of the world. But remember that you are the one writing your own story. And people are listening to me now. Before it was difficult, but I'm seeing this younger generation to seek authenticity more. Like they go to the Maldives 10, 12 times. But then when I propose them to go to the Faroe Islands, first of all, they look at me and say, where are the Faroe Islands? Then I explain where are the Faroe Islands. And then I explain what they can do to the Faroe Islands. Most of the time, people won't go to the Faroe Islands. But the people that go to the Faroe Islands, they come back and they say, wow, that was the most immersive trip that I've ever taken in my life. Because we moved away from social media. And we instead tried to write a story that was very compelling to them, because after talking to them, I grasped what it might have been more of interest.
You said just now that they've been to the Maldives 10 or 12 times, and I think maybe this example applies to many travelers who have been to the same destination several times. There's people who always go to London in the summer, people who always go to Africa in the winter, etc. Do you think that they choose this because of the ease of being somewhere they've already been, or is it because everyone else is going there and it's more comfortable for them? What do you think is the reason that people frequently go back to the same destination?
Definitely there is a sense of emulating what other people do. London, for example. But London, whenever you go to London, is a different experience in London. It's up to you how to make it unique and move away from the 2 or 3 neighborhoods where usually the Khaliji would go to. I think a sophisticated mindset like the one of the Khaliji, that they have access to so many places thanks to incredible networks from all the different hubs in the region, are looking for something different. It's true that they want to go to the same places, but at the same time, they also want to go and explore new frontiers. I'm having more and more people asking me to go and see the Northern Light and to go to Antarctica, because they're seeing that on Netflix and on other channels. They're seeing documentaries, and they're seeing this bounty of natural beauty that before they didn't know who to ask to. And now I keep on hearing a lot of different requests, which I wasn't expecting, to be honest. I would have expected more some typical questions. But here, the people are so well educated, that they want to be well traveled as well. And that it wasn't the case until recently. Now, people don't want to go on holiday anymore. They want to go on a journey, on an exploration, on something that leaves something behind to them.
Do you find it harder to break the mold of someone who loves going back to the same place, or finding someone who is seeking a new experience?
The people that seek new experiences need to be directed, because one thing is what you created in your mind and what you've seen on social media, and the other thing is reality. Because if you go to Antarctica, you can't go to Antarctica for 4 days.
You'll be eaten by a polar bear, probably, if you
There
go
are
to
no polar
Antarctica
bears in
alone.
Antarctica. They're only in the North Pole. In
okay.
Antarctica, there are only penguins.
Sorry for being miseducated, yeah.
You see, that's why you need the travel
Yes.
professional.
Correct.
And there are no tigers in Africa, to make it sure and clear. The people that want to go to the same places, it's fine. But then again, they want to try different properties. They want to try different experiences. For example, my team and we just finished a training of 7 different episodes on the underworld of the Maldives. Every single atoll is different. The coral reef in time has been damaged because of global warming. But there are some certain areas where you can still see a very active population of fishes. And I've been training alongside my team to undergo literally underneath the destination, in this case, to give a complete new aspect and light to a place in the Maldives where people usually only seek, oh, I want to go to this hotel room. I say, let's combine the hotel room with the main reason why you're going to the Maldives. Snorkeling, diving, or just by lying by the beach.
Do you usually have to experience things yourself before you pitch them to your
We always
clients?
do that. When you talked previously about paying a premium for my consultation, is because we try, we experience, we live firsthand, and we develop a network of contacts with people on site that are always giving us new ideas, changing itineraries, because what was good 2 or 3 years ago, it might not be good now. And as much as I can travel constantly, and my team as well around the world, you cannot be on the ball all the time on every single destination. Therefore, we rely upon somebody on site to give us all these insights. My next question relates to privacy versus remoteness. What feels more powerful to you as a video maker? A private luxury setting or a remote place that makes people feel small?
I think a remote place that makes people feel small.
And do you think most of the people would agree with you, or you think that you are not I mean,
The outlier, maybe?
yeah, exactly.
I think outlier, because I think people would choose the first option rather than going to somewhere remote. But when you say remote, I visualize somewhere far, maybe in Asia, near the mountains or the jungle or nature. But other people might not think the same way. But because that's what I envisioned, this is what I chose. Again, it goes back to what my personal preference is. Whether I see it through a lens or I see it normally in my eyes, it's just a matter of preference.
You know, some remoteness are much closer than you think. I often tell people when they go to London, I say, have you ever witnessed or experienced the English countryside? And people say, no. And then 2-3 hours just outside London, you find in this incredible little hamlet, which are very unique, very authentic, and at the same time very remote. So sometimes our idea of going remotely, it can be combined with the idea of total privacy and luxury
Yeah.
at the same
But
time.
do you remember when I said that to some people luxury is free time or going
Yes.
to have sports or whatever? I think that the reason why I chose maybe remoteness is because I feel like any free time that I have to myself, I would try to fill it up with social media or scrolling through my phone or keeping myself busy because this is just the type of person that I am. But if I am given a choice to go experience something remote and drop everything from my phone to work distractions or to anything and maybe not even take my camera with me, I think I would choose that maybe at least once a year just to try to break the routine, enjoy some silence and enjoy some real nature.
Of course, I think within a year we need different moments and we need different experiences to be fulfilled. Do you feel that the unexpected moments are usually the ones people remember the most?
Absolutely. I think some of the most unexpected moments create the best memories with people, especially when it's something that you haven't planned for. Maybe this isn't the most positive example, but when I went to Amsterdam with my wife, for no reason, my nose started bleeding like crazy in the middle of the street, and it was winter time. And I had been a little sick when we first traveled, and it was winter. So I just progressively got worse. And I was just bleeding in the middle of Amsterdam. And we had travel insurance, obviously, but we had no idea where to go. So we just sat there in the middle of the street, my head up, face full of tissues. People were passing by, not even taking a second look at us because they knew we were tourists. We just sat there for maybe 20 minutes, and then we looked at each other and we started laughing because it's such a strange moment, but I still remember it to this day because it was so unexpected, but I had my wife there with me, even though nobody else cared about us, but she was there. And it was in the beginning of our marriage as well. So just to know that someone is there with you, no matter what's happening, no matter where you are in the world, is very nice.
But that gets never documented on social media.
Obviously not. I mean, I had my camera then, but I had to put it down.
But you see,
Yeah,
sometimes social media doesn't really tell you the full story.
absolutely. I mean, if people were to ask me about my trip to Amsterdam, I doubt I will mention this detail to them.
And my last question to you is, what makes a travel video actually connect with people beyond just looking beautiful?
Okay.
It's a very good question. I think if they connect the travel experience with the person who made the video and they try to look more into their personality and their lifestyle and their preferences, would have a bigger impact than if they were just to watch it and say, oh, that's a nice video, Sri Lanka looks nice, or Indonesia looks like it's
Sri
amazing.
Lanka is very nice, by the way.
Or say like Indonesia is an amazing place to go.
That's why.
So, but if you look at the person who made the video and what they chose to do, which activities they chose to document, rather than thinking, oh, the coloring is amazing or the editing is great, it will give more meaning to that specific destination.
But social media sometimes doesn't understand really what your expectations are or what your desires are. Whereas a travel professional always can help you by listening to what your needs are.
Constantly marketing for ILV.
All the time. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
being with us today.
Thank you.
And I wish you happy travels.
Thank you very much.